Well, hey there, diet disruptors. I am here today with a guest, and I always love when I get to do my podcast with a guest. And it's funny that I'm doing it today when I'm a little bit sick. I have a little bit of a cold, and we're going to talk about that. But I have here an expert in something that you probably don't know a lot about. And it was something I didn't know a lot about until recently. So, Emilia Rizzuto, welcome. And I cannot wait to talk about all things elderberry.
Yes, Elderberry. Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi. Yes. So elderberry might be something that people have heard of before. They may or may not know that much about it, but you have literally built your entire life and business around why elderberry is so powerful and so important for people. So we're going to dig into that today. And it's funny to be able to really spend time on this because it is actually that powerful and that important, don't you think?
I do. And it's not only me that thinks that. I mean, Hippocrates, the father of medicine, actually said elder is the medicine chest. This plant is ancient, it's been around for thousands of years.
And why is it that it's just interesting? So my daughter was sick for like pretty much her whole first semester, and in college, and her doctor actually said, "And you should probably look for elderberry. That will help." She didn't tell her why or anything like that. And Ellie texted me and said, "I need to find elderberry," and I looked for elderberry, and I could find stuff. But the ingredients, Amelia, I was like, none of this I want to give to her. And so if it's this important and this ancient, why was I having such a hard time?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. Number one, most of the products are coming out of Europe. I think if we kind of start at that level,
Okay.
elderberries are growing a lot in Europe, in Poland, in Russia, China even is growing them now. So America was growing a lot of berries at one point. Maine specifically had tons of elderberries. And then you can kind of go down the rabbit hole of kind of the pharmaceutical industry coming in,
Mm.
we can go down that
Oh
whole
yeah, I can go
thing
down that rabbit hole for days.
for days. Yeah. And so there were some reports that a lot of those fields were burned and it was like no longer allowed. And,
Wow.
so we kind of had to start over here in America. And people are kind of coming back to those ancient remedies and
Yeah.
also taking personal responsibility for their health
Yeah.
and learning, what's out there. Not just, oh, I have to go take, Tamiflu or
Right.
whatever, the doctor, the antibiotic or whatever it is. Like you can actually build your immune system, you can support your immune system, you can, help lower that viral load. So people are just starting to learn. And now that people are starting to learn, America is actually starting to grow a lot more berries. So we're able to get fresh berries and different ingredients. And also the industry is not really regulated. So I've also seen studies where you
Mm.
think that you're getting elderberry, but they're mixing it with like a rice, like kind of like a rice bran or like some kind of rice syrup. So the color stays consistent, but it's actually
Hmm.
not the exact elderberry that says it's in the bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
I was really impressed with her doctor suggesting elderberry because I thought, okay, well, that's better than a prescription. But then it was really hard to be able to find anything that I felt like was really going to serve her without the impact of the other garbage that was in it.
right.
So let's talk about elderberry. Why is this such a powerful source for us that we need to be all thinking about?
So elderberry is a plant that you can use the whole plant, not
Okay.
just the berry. So we're all kind of thinking, oh, elderberry, right?
Yeah,
But
I think about berries. I really don't even think I know what an elderberry looks like.
so it's actually a bush. I mean, we just start with like the
Oh,
basics. So the plant, it's a bush. You
okay.
can literally take like a little stick and stick it in the ground, and in a couple of years, you'll get a giant bush. It just shoots out.
Okay.
And so what we typically see is green leaves most of the
Okay.
time.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
come June, you'll start seeing like big white flowers. So
Ooh,
I'm in
okay.
Missouri, and especially in Missouri, like on the side of the roads, you can really see in June like big white flowers. And I'm sure in other states you can as well. And those are the elderflower. And then that flower, around late July, early August, will start turning into the berry. So you'll start seeing the flower turn into like a green berry, and then it becomes red, and then purple. And as it becomes purple, it'll start to kind of sag.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's when you know they're ready to pick, when they're nice.
Okay.
So you just got to get them before the birds because the birds love them as well.
Can you use the whole plant
You
in?
can use a lot of the plant, yes.
Wow.
If you do use the flower, then you're not going to get the berry.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that's something to keep in mind. So yeah, there we have elderflower chai tea. So we do
Yes.
that as well. So elderflower is often used for skin. It's really good for your skin. It's also great for respiratory. It has a lot of its own benefits as well.
Okay. All right. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the benefits. But just for my listeners, I just want to remind everybody about our six spinning plates. So when we talk about what we need to be doing for our body, so many of us that have dieted our whole lives have just said, like, give me a meal plan. Just tell me what to eat. And I'm going to be like, my skinny, happy self. And what we know is that it's really about getting to our optimal health. At that point, we will get to our optimal weight. And that's just a math equation. But there's so many aspects of our health, and nutrition is a foundation, but then there's movement. And these are the six spinning plates: nutrition, movement, hydration, sleep, managing our stress, and supplementation. And so many times people think, okay, if I buy these supplements and like that's all I need to do, it is a gap filler. It's a piece of the puzzle. And when I met you and you were talking about all these things, elderberry, and so passionate about it, I knew I had to bring you on here because I think that the supplement plate, if you will, is very misunderstood about what we should be doing. I like to say we should supplement smarter, not harder. You
Yeah.
and I were just talking before we came on about sauna and red light therapy. Those are all supplemental types of things. And this elderberry is one that I think so many of us need to start considering into our regular practice. So let's get into why elderberry is so important.
Okay. So I think that one of the reasons that the doctor recommended it for your daughter
Hmm.
is number one, there are finally some studies being done, because
Oh.
a lot of anecdotal data, like, oh, this helped, like your grandma, all the grandmas know about
Yeah,
elderberry.
yeah, 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 yeah.
All this anecdotal data, but I think that now that there's actually research done,
Yeah.
doctors are starting to kind of come on board. And the
Okay.
majority of the research is that it is antiviral. So besides all the, I mean, I can tell you 20 million more things that Hippocrates was saying and that we've known through the years, but right now the main research is for viruses. So flu virus, even COVID, they were saying the berry itself can contain the virus. So
Oh, wow.
it's like if you catch it like a Tamiflu,
Yeah.
that's when it really shines. So at onset of symptoms, if you can start taking elderberry right away, in a heavier dose, like we would say our elixir, you would take every 2 to 3 hours at onset of symptoms. It incredibly like suppresses the severity and the duration of the illness. So we've had people call me. I mean, I literally had people call me and come like, "Oh my God!" Like they were shocked at how quickly they felt better. And then it does
Yeah.
into like another infection, so you don't end up getting that secondary infection.
Today's episode is brought to you by Be Rooted In, a magnesium lotion that also has essential oils in it. And if you are like me, you are going to need it as part of your daily routine because it is that luxurious and that beneficial. Magnesium is actually a mineral that most of us need. And if we're taking a capsule, I hate to tell you, but it's probably not doing what you think it is. When I first talked to my functional nutritionist, she had told me magnesium lotion is the way to go. And I could not find any on the market that weren't greasy or that had ingredients that I felt good about actually absorbing into my skin. And then I met Natalie. I love that she is a fellow female entrepreneur, but Natalie has wrapped her mind, her heart, and her soul all around the benefits of magnesium and why we need it so much. Sleep, stress, pain, so many different functions in our body rely on us having high levels of magnesium. And magnesium lotion is such an amazing way to be able to have it. Her products, which help with sleep or pain or tranquility, because of the essential oils in it and because of the high amount of magnesium, it is an absolutely essential part of my daily routine. And I can't wait for you to try it as well. If you go to my website, carrielupoli.com, go check out my favorite products. Click on the link for magnesium lotion, and I have a special code for you too to be able to get 20% off your first order.
How did you get into this?
Complete accidents.
Because this isn't your background.
No, I went to fashion school
I
in New
love
York.
that.
I don't know what I'm
I
doing.
love that.
I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease
Okay.
when I was 15. And
Okay.
so it's been decades. I mean, I've had it for a long time. And I
Hmm.
spent the first like 3 decades not really doing anything about it. I was taking lots of medications. And back then, they were kind of just giving me a lot of steroids and immunosuppressive medications. We didn't have biologics yet.
Hmm.
So then I started taking biologics as I got older. So I think I was around in my 20s when I got on biologics,
Okay.
like a Remicade or Humira, things like that.
Yeah.
And those are immunosuppressant medications.
Yeah.
And They really damaged my immune system
Yeah, I was gonna say you got sick a lot.
all the time. Not only was I sick all the time, but I was also like had weird infections. So like I had
Mm,
like folliculitis, they would call it.
okay.
I remember once I had like a weird infection like around my belly button where they gave me like they sent me to like infectious disease doctors and ended up giving me, I mean, like 17 rounds of different antibiotics, probably just
Yeah,
entire
of
gut.
course. It's like this
Um,
roulette wheel
yeah,
of
nobody was
medications.
helping, they weren't helping. And then it was like, okay, well, you have to go get a flu shot. And so I went and got a flu shot, and I had such a bad reaction to the flu shot. I got so sick.
Oh,
And this was
wow.
before I started my education.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
And
think you actually make a really good point. It's around an education. And we're
yeah,
just, I joke a lot about how, if we think about our body like a plane, and, when you get on a plane and you look and you see the passengers, like you have to go where you sit down, turn left and you see where the cockpit is, and you're like, well, thank God I'm not flying that plane, right?
yeah,
And we just go sit and just expect that the pilots are going to take us to where we want to go. And I feel like that's what we do with our body. We're like a passenger and we have no idea how to fly our own plane. And so you have these doctors who don't know how to fly your plane either. Let's be honest. They just have a flight manual that supposedly works for everybody.
right.
And their flight manual is very limited in terms of what their options are. And we sit back and we keep wondering why we're landing in the wrong place. So as soon as you started doing research on how to fly your plane, you
Yes.
likely discovered some new stuff.
Lots of new stuff. And I was
Mm.
mad. Then you get really upset too, because you're like, how did I not know this? And how, anyway. Um, so that's when I discovered elderberries. And it was funny because just living in Missouri, I was able to get fresh berries. We have a lot of farmers here growing elderberry. So I found a local farmer. I was able to get fresh berries, and that makes a difference too. So I got some fresh berries, I got some local honey, and I found this recipe online, and I just started kind of making, because at first I bought it in the store and it was very thick,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
thick and syrupy, and I just didn't like the consistency. And it was like, I'm like, I'm just gonna try it myself.
And it also makes me wonder, and this is why I'm always about the source, right? And like if ever I'm either recommending supplements or taking them myself, I always want to know who are the people behind it
Yeah.
because you could say that you have, elderberry, for example, and have just a very, very tiny amount of it. We
Yes.
we talk about that with magnesium cream as well. Um, it's crazy how powerful magnesium can be, but yet how little it could actually be in like a lotion that we might be in. And yet it's marketed as something that it really isn't because to your point, there's not a lot of regulation on it.
Right. It's not
So,
regulated at all, basically.
right.
So yeah, I just found some berries, found some honey, and started. I made this syrup for myself, basically, and had my kids taking it. And then the first winter that we were like kind of in a new house, there was my kids were in elementary school still, middle school. So I was going to the bus stop with them, and I brought
Yeah.
some elderberry syrup to the moms at the bus stop. And one of the moms was like, "Oh, I was just on this like Facebook group, and I think somebody was looking for this. Like maybe you can sell it." And at that point, I had already quit my job. I was producing photo shoots. So I'd quit that job, and I was home with the kids. And I went back to school for holistic nutrition through Bowman College.
Yeah.
And so I kind of started like a little company, and I was doing some nutrition coaching, and I was like, kind of cooking some things. I was doing a lot of bone broth for clients. And
Yeah.
so this kind of made sense. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll make it and try to, it was along with what I was doing anyway. And I had so much interest. Like I had 300 people message me.
Wow.
I'm interested. And I was like, wow, it was crazy. And so I started selling it out of the back of my car, just making it. And then on weekends, like doing meetups, selling this elderberry syrup. That
Wow.
was
And
it.
people were seeing a difference.
Yeah, well, people had already started hearing about it.
Yeah.
And so I started seeing a difference too in my health. Like I basically, I mean, it's very rare that I get sick now. And if I am getting sick, it's because I'm not taking care of myself. And the other,
Yes.
like
This is
I'm
me right now with a cold, without
traveling,
a doubt.
travel a lot. That plays a big
Yep.
part of it. And
Yep.
when I'm traveling, I'm not as good about taking the
All the
elderberry like they
things.
should be.
Yep.
As long as I'm consistent, and I take a lot of elderberry in different ways. So just because it's been in my life for so long, so I use the honey, like I make lemon water in the mornings, and I have
Okay.
elderberry honey in that. So, I
So
like.
you have elderberry honey.
I do. I've got elderberry honey too. Just two ingredients, organic elderberry and organic honey. So I
Wow.
take elderberry in different ways throughout the day.
Yeah.
I just now love it. It's just kind of part of my life.
Yeah.
But my kids mostly just live on the elixir, just kind of a tablespoon a day of elderberry elixir. And so this was a complete accident. If you would have told me, I don't know, when I was 20 that I'm just going to have an elderberry business, I wouldn't even know what you're talking about. I didn't
Yeah,
even know.
because now you went from selling it out of your car to now actually having a really respected, incredible brand of elderberry products. Everybody in my family got elderberry for Christmas this year in their stockings, by the way.
Thank you.
Uh, and this is crazy because I got your elderberry gummies
Okay.
and I gave them to my mother-in-law as her stocking stuffer. And she's like, gummies? Carrie, you've always told me that I can't have the gummies because she would have like the vitamin C gummies and they were literally like, the candy
Yeah,
of
they're
gummies.
dangerous.
And I have always said, like, okay, the gummies, like, stay away from. But I really dug into your elderberry gummies and I was like, I'm okay with these.
It's
And
so
my kids are going to take them.
right, they're delicious. It took me a long time to make that gummy actually because I was so obsessed with the elixir. Like I'm like, this doesn't get fresher. Like, why would you want a gummy? I was the same way.
Yeah.
Only elixir. I was like very strict about that for like 2 years because it's like fresh juice from the plant. We
Yep.
use whole organic ginger, organic Ceylon cinnamon. Like everything is whole and fresh and like local raw honey. You can't get any fresher than that. So I didn't understand why anybody would not want that. And finally, after a couple of years of doing events and meeting people, everyone's like, "Oh, I buy a Chewy at Walmart." And I'm like, "Oh my God, hear that again, I'm gonna murder somebody."
Hmm.
So I was like, I'm gonna try to make a version of it that that customer would actually eat.
Right.
Because if they're used to getting a gummy with corn syrup in it,
Right.
and it's like it's just not the same thing. So I worked really hard on making one that was, we cut it with tapioca instead of full sugar, and we
Oh.
used all natural ingredients. A gummy is a gummy, and I don't disagree with you, but there are better versions of gummies, and that's what we tried to do.
Yeah, and now the thing is my kids are taking it. And I
Yeah,
think
right.
that's the big thing, right? Like they're in college and they just I need them to take it is
Yeah.
basically it. And so that was actually a really nice option for us. And we have I just was telling you that I just had the tea and I love that there's all these different ways to be able to get quote unquote supplement like this,
Mhm.
this type of would you call this a vitamin? Like what do you categorize it as?
I think the elderberry syrup is categorized, like the syrup and the gummies are categorized under supplements. And
Yeah,
then the teas, jellies, honeys, they're not, obviously. In
right.
my opinion, I think it's a plant that has been in our lives forever,
Yeah,
forever,
yeah.
and in all of the world, it's everywhere. And so I think it's kind of just coming back to it, almost like hemp, like we're kind of coming
Yeah.
back to
Yeah,
some.
that's a really good
So
point.
I think it's just and like that's why like our motto like for the company is kind of like getting the elderberry plant back into people's modern lives and medicine cabinets and kitchens.
Yeah.
So it's just about using that plant again in your life.
Yeah, I love that. And you've made it very easy for people to do that. And I love the idea that it's preventative and then you can add more to it if you do get sick to be
Yes.
able to mitigate the symptoms. And I mean, I think that in this day and age that's what that we need it to be as simple as possible so that we do it because it's
Right.
that consistency over time that helps build that up. So if you were like brand new to elderberry and you're like listening and thinking, okay, I this is really interesting. I need to do this. I need to add this into my regime. Do you suggest, like, with all the products that you have? And I just love how you're continuing to expand the different ways that you can present elderberry or elderflower to people. What do you start with?
I always say the elixir is the go-to during
Mhm.
cold and flu season specifically. It keeps you healthy. It's also got fresh ginger in it,
And that's
which
every day, right?
every day, just a tablespoon a day
Yep.
during cold and flu season. It really supports the immune system. I talked to a mom recently whose son was really sick all the time. And they also had a doctor who said, go find elderberry. And she said after 2 years of consistent elderberry use that he was able to stop using it because he just never, ever got sick again. And now he just uses it as needed. It like
Oh, I see. So you can
him
kind of
up
build
so
that up.
strong. Yes. That it the way she explained to me that, and I'd never heard this before, but she explained to me that her doctor said that it actually will reinvigorate the immune system. Like it
Yeah.
actually rebuilds it.
See
And
that, and that's
I think that's what
so
happened to
powerful.
me. Like that it actually rebuilt my system to
Yeah.
make just it kind of like get your set point to a different spot if
Yeah.
you're starting here.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
love this. And I love that it's just an all natural option for us. And we just don't have to go buying the stuff on the over the counter medication that is not actually getting to kind of the root, you know?
yeah. There's
and
also a
going
lot of
back.
other things in elderberry plant. So it's really high in vitamins.
Hmm.
It actually, iron and potassium is really high in that as well. And there's so many new studies coming out now that I'm really kind of looking forward to. There's a lot of brain health studies. I don't know if you've seen any of this about it.
No.
So not a lot of things cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
Elderberry does.
Oh,
So
say more. What does that mean?
so I guess if you're trying to get into the brain, there's not a lot that can get into the brain.
Hmm.
They discovered that the elderberry plant can cross that blood-brain barrier. And they think it can help lower the kind of buildup in the brain and help with Alzheimer's and dementia. So they're doing a huge study right now at Mizzou, Missouri University. They have a $5 million grant that they're
Oh,
working with.
wow. Oh,
And
this
then
is so exciting. You're like
so
right
excited.
there.
I mean, it's amazing. And then I meet a lot of people just doing events and being out and about, and everyone wants to come tell me their stories.
Mm.
And I had a woman come up to me that her husband had brain cancer. And I don't remember what clinic he was in. I don't remember if it was Duke or it was some kind of university. He was in a study, and they were using elderberry in that study as well. Again, because they know it can get into the brain. So they were trying,
Wow.
they can actually break down because it's viral and it can help, heal the cells. So they're trying to figure out if they can get into the cell and break down the cancer in the cell. So I know there's going to be a lot more research coming out. There's also some great studies about oxygenation in the body. So because of its purple color, it's the anthocyanins and
Yeah.
polyphenols, like kind
Yeah.
of like wine and resveratrol, so
Yep.
all of that is great for
Yeah.
oxygen brain, circulation, all of that stuff, and anthocyanins too. So it's really, really high on the ORAC scale. So are you familiar with that? So it's the
Hmm.
antioxidant scale. So
Hmm.
elderberries are one of the highest on that scale as well. So you're getting like, you're not just getting that antiviral load, you're not getting just the immune system, you're also getting all these great antioxidants, and it's great for your brain.
Right. Which is why it just seems like it's just something that has to be part of our lives.
It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I love that this little tiny, I love talking to other female entrepreneurs where this little tiny, like, haphazard chance to come upon this with your own education, your own knowledge, like something's not right with my body and I have to make a change. And it turned into a business that helps others. And
Yeah.
so that's exactly the type of business and woman that I love to support and to be able to share with. So tell people where they can find you and all your elderberry.
So the best place to find me is allthingselderberry.com. That's our website. If you want to connect with me or the brand, you can find us on social media at All Things Elderberry, and I'm the
Awesome.
one that's on there, so I'll always be messaging you back.
Oh, that's
So
perfect. I love
allthingselderberry.
supporting a small business, especially because you're filling such a need that we have. And for all of my listeners, we are getting a very special discount. So if you use the code Carrie 15, Carrie 15, you can get 15% off your order. So go get stocked up. Try all the things like I did, the gummies, the tea, the elixir. There's so much good stuff there. Amelia, thank you so much for being here, for educating us, because the more we know, the more we can do. So I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.